Okay.
You can keep it on. Would suggest to keep it on, and in the meantime, we'll have our screen share.
No, I'm fine. When we have people, when we're about to start, that's when I'll start.
Okay, okay. So, a warm welcome to all our participants. Thank you so much for joining in today. I see Bhaumik, Bhavna, Chirag, Dhwani, Iral, Parvati, Pranav, Sagar, Sandeep, Sandra, Sapna, Tushar, Zarna, Chetan, Meg, Neha, Vanita, Vishal. Hi, Sapna. Thank you for joining in. Good afternoon, Parvati. Good afternoon, Sagar. Same year, Sapna. Well, it's a lovely monsoon afternoon. We are all set to begin with our today's webinar. Recent world events have unfolded. Many of us have had to very quickly get to grips with virtual meetings. Once, which was an informal way to catch up with family and friends, video calls have now become our most important tool to be maintained client relationships. As you know, first impression can make or break a job interview, a client meeting. It can be difficult to determine whether or not you may you made a good first impression in a virtual workplace. While you may only see a small thumbnail of yourself during your virtual meeting, the other participants might be viewing you full screen. Along with mastering the technology, we also need to consider how we conduct ourselves during online meetings, especially if it's the first time you're meeting a potential client, an employer, or even, say, a candidate, for instance. In their eyes, you are the face of your organization or association. So, how you create that impression is up to you. Let's hear it from our expert today, who will be enlightening us on making a great virtual impression. HR Association of India welcomes you all to the 2021 Dialogue Masterclass series on the topic How to Make a Great Virtual Impression. To know more about HRAI and its event, I would request all our participants to visit the link and details posted in the chat window. I request all the participants to kindly follow the webinar guidelines mentioned in the chat window. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all the participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Ms. Mukta Barrani, corporate trainer and image consultant, The Better Zone. Mukta is a corporate trainer specializing in soft skills communication, behavioral skills, emotional intelligence, image management, and personal development. Trained more than 5,000 people in the last 5 years to guide them to become more successful and happier in life. An IT engineer by qualification and worked with renowned multinational companies, took a wonderful shift in profession and now works with many companies, organizations, institutes, and individuals too from varied backgrounds. Recently featured in a business magazine and a global online women platform, received Youth Leadership and Proud Woman Award, and featured in 3 forums for her work. You can also follow her on LinkedIn. The link for the same has been shared in the chat window. I now hand over the platform to Ms. Mukta. Over to you, Mukta.
Hello, everyone. Very good afternoon. Thank you so much, Peterson, for this wonderful introduction and setting the platform so perfectly. Thank you so much, Sapna. Yes, I'm looking forward to this session as well. I would like to take this opportunity to first and foremost thank the HR Association of India for having me here, for inviting me as a guest speaker for this important topic, that is how to create great virtual impressions. As Peterson rightly said, that the whole world has changed and brought us to accept this situation where we not only adapt to the technology, but we also need to understand how to perfectly feature ourselves, promote ourselves, and not just that, before that, present ourselves in the best possible way. Every time we have a virtual meeting, every time we have a video conferencing, whenever we go for an interview, whenever we meet other people just on a video call, we do realize the importance of presenting ourselves in the best possible manner. It is as wonderful as it can be that the whole world has come closer. However, we need to learn the best possible way of putting ourselves right there. Because this is no more a physical meeting that we have, which of course has its pros and cons. The best possible way to interact with someone would be a physical meeting, because there's that vibe, that human touch, that presence that you feel of a person. Nonetheless, when we are at this, with at any virtual meeting, we are as close as we can be to a person, which is barely a distance of 2 to 3 feet. And this makes it utmost important to conduct ourselves in a perfect way, if not perfect, in a graceful way, whenever, especially, we're interacting with the clients, whenever we're meeting important people, or if we are in a formal setting for a formal meeting. So, without further ado, I think it's best if we dive right into what are these things that we need to take care of to create great impressions in the virtual world. So, first and foremost, can you see my screen, everyone? If yes, Peterson, you can give me a thumbs up.
Yes, yes, we can.
All right. So let's talk about this difference that you've observed when you actually have these physical meetings with people and when you are in a virtual meeting setting. Don't you think there is this lack of attention that you start feeling after just 10 or 15 minutes into the meeting? You haven't been able to focus too much. We do have meetings for 1 hour mostly. If not, it's at least 30 minutes. But sometimes your meetings and conferences would go on for hours at a stretch. If you're attending some webinars or seminars, it could be for hours at a stretch. Now, normal attention span of a human to listen to someone ranges somewhere between 30 minutes to 50 minutes. However, put them online and their attention span is only for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, this makes it utmost important for us to understand what could you do in a meeting to make it even more interesting and to hold the attention of the participants. Another important thing that we've all observed is there's this slight lack of connection that you feel. Of course, that is due to the lack of physical presence of a person, the vibe of that person, and of course, that setting when we are all right there, involved, immersed in that environment. Same way, you've seen this difference in affection when in front, a person could express a lot, a person could talk about things other than work as well. However, during the virtual meetings, we restrict ourselves to mostly important things. And if time is left, or maybe before everyone joins in, we could talk about something extra. But that's usually not the mandate. The feedback that you get is more or less limited online. However, if you are in front, you have an option to talk at length about how are things going. Because of all of these reasons, you've seen that the understanding has been somehow limited because there are lots of factors that are not present there. Now, why we are here is to find out what are those important factors that help you make up for it. How will you bridge that gap? Can you still have a great experience in your virtual meetings? Can you still communicate effectively despite not being actually there with people? And how would you actually make a great impression in the virtual world? So let's get to the main and critical discussion. Things that you need to do. to have this great experience. First of all, let's talk about certain basic things that we need to have in place, which are the technical arrangements. Most importantly, have the meeting invite ready and make sure it has reached all the people who are necessary in the meeting so that you can start right on time without wasting much. And good Wi-Fi connection, without that goes without saying, that you need to have a stable internet connection so that it doesn't lag, so that you don't get stuck, so that you don't have to wait, so that you don't get logged out. For all of these reasons, and to have effective and continuous communication, it is absolutely important to make sure that you have a good Wi-Fi connection. If not, please make sure that you're connected to both, not just Wi-Fi, also your mobile data, so that the moment you're logged out from there, or if there's a problem there, you can immediately reconnect. Make sure you have some good quality earphones or headphones, or if not, please do a dry run, do a check that people can hear you without any echo, without any disturbance, without any extra noise that could be around. Familiarize yourself with the platform. It could be Zoom, it could be WebEx, it could be Microsoft Teams, it could be Google Meet, it could be any platform. But make sure you understand the different options present there, the different systems or the process to be followed on that particular platform. It is highly important that you familiarize yourself with all of this, so that right in the middle of the meeting, you don't have to ask someone, okay, where's this option? Well, people are very helpful, and it is absolutely all right for you to ask. But let's say if you're attending a meeting with almost 50 or 100 or more than that, 100 people or more than that, then that might be a problem, because everybody might have a different question. And now, for the one who's conducting the meeting, it becomes a big problem, a big hassle to answer everyone, which might be a big hindrance in the actual purpose of the meeting. Now, a very important thing that most people do not pay attention to is your camera positioning. Now, try and have the light source, specifically the natural light or the sunlight, that's the best source of light you can have, in front of you. Now, you could have a ring light in front of you, but that's pretty sharp. You could have the overhead lights of your room. However, that could cast a shadow under your eyes and under your nose, and that could still affect the overall lighting in this setting. So consider the light source to be specifically in front, and make sure the softer the light source, the better the effect. Find a good angle. It is important to find this good angle where you're comfortably looking at the camera and speaking to people. Now, if the camera is really zoomed into your face, in your eyes, in your nose, close to your mouth or your neck, people are really not interested. In fact, this is very distracting. If the camera is pointing somewhere to the ceiling, somewhere to something behind you, somewhere on the pillow, somewhere on the bed or the sofa or somewhere else, it really doesn't work, because it could be, one, we are here to look at you, and secondly, it is distracting. It doesn't look professional at all. So make sure the camera shows more or less this much of you, and there's still some space left around you and on the top. Now keep things absolutely neat and your backdrop very clean. Make sure there's no heap of clothes behind you. Make sure the books are not scattered behind you. So we understand that not everybody would have a dedicated workspace available at their homes in this lockdown situation. Most people have tried to convert the smaller spaces of their homes or lounges or halls, or even one side of their sofa or one side of their bed, and people have been really creative, which is amazing. However, it is important that we either have a solid background and no distracting objects behind you. You could have something minimal. You could have probably a small planter. You could have a bookshelf. You could have one painting. You could have probably a few things. However, make sure that it is not very cluttered. That is absolutely important, because in that way, the focus will be on you, which is what we need. Hope and understand that if the background or your backdrop, even the wall, if it has a lot of texture, a lot of colors, a lot of busy prints, a lot of design, that could be again a distracting factor too. So make sure of these things. And when you have a plain wall behind you, that'll be just easier for the one you are talking to focus on what you're saying and to focus on you. Fill the frame well. Like I said, that there has to be enough space on the left, enough space on the right, enough space at the top, and you have to be somewhere in between so that the frame is well filled. No distractions in the background. We understand that we're all at home. There could be times when your spouse walks in, when your son walks in, when your parents are there, when there's some cleaning happening in the background, when there's something else happening. Now, we need to understand that even though we cannot completely stop it, but it's best to minimize it. It's best to avoid it, at least during a very formal meeting, at least during a leadership or a management call, especially during your interviews or all such things. All of these things are even applicable when you're just having a casual chat with your friends, your family, your relatives. Now, what happens is there are many times when I am having a video chat with my parents, and at times they're just holding their phone so close to their face and I cannot see them clearly. Or sometimes they're just trying to accommodate both of them, mom and dad, in a frame, but I can see the space in between them, neither my mom nor my dad. So many of these things do happen. And it's important that if you have a web camera attached to your system, position it perfectly. If you have a laptop and you're using that camera, make sure you have some books or some stand or some portable table to support the laptop and bring it at a level where it is at your eye level. We're going to talk about a very important thing, which is why should you look into the camera and talk to people. We'll come to that in a short while. Right now, we're going to talk about 10 things to absolutely remember for a great virtual meeting experience. What elevates the experience? Now, first and foremost, be prepared. All the documents that you need, all the folders that you need to access, all the important information that you need during the time of this meeting, make sure you have it ready with you. Because usually what happens is, I've heard many people, while they are searching for, see, this is unavoidable that somebody asks for some information suddenly, but if you know that you're going to talk about a particular topic, make sure you have it at hand. Because I've seen many people do this. Okay, I will look for this, and do I have this? Oh yeah, here it is. And this is not really professional. While you're looking for a document here and there, and you keep talking something which might not be okay, people would not be interested, all of them, I'm saying, just to hear this while you're looking for some document. So it's important to have all the information ready, all the documents ready, everything at hand when you're just about to begin meeting. Second, and the most important thing is, when you're just about to have a video meeting, a virtual meeting with people, you need to dress well and look presentable. But most people would also say that, everybody knows I am working from home, everybody knows I am at home, it doesn't really matter what I wear, mujhe mere team mein sab log jante hain, everybody knows me, all my team, I don't really need to dress up or work on that. Does it really even matter what you wear? I'm talking sense, I'm talking something important, and you are focusing on my clothes. How does that make sense? But honestly, it does. Let's understand, and let me ask you a few quick questions. Now, some of you, if possible, can you please answer in the chat box when I ask you these questions? Now, out of these two, please tell me who looks like a finance manager, the one on the left or the one on the right, the one in the coat or the suit, or the one in sandals and jeans. The one on the left, the jacket guy. Thank you, Sapna. Thank you, Mayura. Parvati. Yes. Mary. Aman. The first one. Awesome. Thank you so much. Next question coming here. Who do you think is the doctor? Those on sides or those in the middle? The sides. Sides, sides, sides. People on extreme ends. Perfect. Yes. Yes. Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Sandra. Sides. Perfect. Here comes the next question. Who looks professional? The one in gray or the one in pink? The one on left or the one on right? Left, gray, left, gray, one on left, one in gray, left. Thank you, Chintan. Thank you, Vishal. Thank you, Ravi. Awesome, perfect. And the lady with the gray coat. Thank you, Mary. And one last question. Who looks responsible? The one on the left or the one on the right? Let's hear it. The one on the right. Thank you, Rima. Yes, Bhavna, the one on the right. Second one, Tushar. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Perfect. Thank you, Parvati. So right now we understand that these were those exact same people. However, they dress differently, they groom differently. This tells you a very important highlight that the moment you look at a person, you start judging. You literally know everything about how they would be. Are they responsible or not? Does this person work this way or not? What is the financial status of this person? What's the cultural background of this person? What could be the profession of this person? How old this person could be? Does this person look trustworthy or not? All of this you judged right in 1 second. It didn't even take you guys more than 2 seconds to start answering. Do you know this person? No. Did you know all those other people? No. Have you heard about them? Not at all. But the moment you look at them, you have, and we innately do this, we inherently do this, and most of it, 99% of people in that first instant, in that first second, judge correctly. That's the thing to notice. The point that I'm trying to say is it could be the same you. However, you create different impressions in different situations in front of different people by just behaving and dressing up different. Don't you think you have some people in your life who could say, oh, she's an absolute extrovert, she's super confident, she's so friendly. And on the other hand, someone else would say, oh, come on, she's a very reserved and a private person. She talks, but only to people who are very close to her. It takes her time to open up. Are there people who are of both these opinions? Many of them. There could be people who say that, oh, he's interested in adventure, he's always been so enthusiastic in everything he does. On the other hand, someone else would say, oh god, it just takes so much effort to make him work, he's so lazy. There are people who say both things about us. In fact, there are different people in our lives who have different perceptions and perspectives towards us, and that's because you at different times have created different impressions. True. My question to you is, every time you are in a meeting, every time you are with someone, every time you are having a virtual chat, or not just that, even when you're physically meeting with people, are you aware of what kind of impression do you give? Dress code matters a lot. I understand very well. You can be judged right with wrong in wrong dress. Absolutely, Parvati. That's what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Thank you for messaging. And you have to take control of what kind of impression do you give out. Is it right? Is it appropriate for the given situation? Is it incorrect or inappropriate for the given situation? And which is exactly why you need to take care of how you look. That does not mean that for every virtual meeting or every physical meeting, you turn up in probably a perfect full suit or a coat or a blazer or a jacket or something like that. No, it doesn't mean that. Well, what really means is that you look presentable. You look appropriate for that occasion. More so, you look yourself in that clothing or that attire. If there's someone who by nature is highly friendly and very bubbly and very cheerful, and put that person in a straight, structured black dress, would that person be comfortable? Mostly, no. Because your clothes and your behavior reflect your personality. And that person would be happier in something that makes her cheerful. You need to find out, what do you find comfortable? It doesn't matter what the fashion is. It doesn't matter what trends are. What matters is what is your style? What makes you bring out the real you? Are you comfortable, and is it appropriate for that occasion? Okay, so you go to a puja, you're wearing Indian. You go to office, you're wearing professional or formal clothes. That's the difference I'm talking about. Does it suit you? Does it make you feel comfortable depending on your body shape? And is it overall comfortable for you? Plus, it looks attractive. I'm telling you to look at these basic things and not a particular piece of clothing. You could just wear a simple top, a simple shirt, however, still look presentable because you're groomed well, you're neat. That's important. Now, some basic things that we're going to look at. When you're in virtual meetings, all people see is just this much, mostly just till your chest, right? Now, you need to take care of how do you look in this range. It's important for you to understand that when people are physically in front of you, they're looking at you as a whole. However, here people focus here because this is all that's visible, and this on the screen it appears to be slightly larger, so everything is noticeable. Now you need to take care of that you are comfortable in whatever you wear. That does not mean that you're always in your PJs or always in your sweats. You could work in that. However, it is preferable to work in presentable clothes because it gets you in the mode of professionalism as well as it creates a great impression even online. Make sure that the colors behind you and the colors that you're wearing do not clash with each other or do not blend into each other. Wear something that easily highlights you, easily brings attention and focus to you. So at this moment, what you can see is the background behind me is light enough and the top that I'm wearing is light enough. However, the blazer that I've put on kind of makes up for everything and still keeps the attention and focus to me because this is contrasting. Make sure you wear solids or neutrals or smaller prints, but not busy prints, inappropriate necklines, buttons open of the shirt, loud or flashy colors, because that might be very distracting. Make sure that your hair isn't flying everywhere, that it doesn't keep falling in front of your eye so that you can see it clearly. And make sure that you are, once you start a virtual meeting, make sure you do have a good look at it. And if you find everything is all right and it's okay for the other person to look at you, then I think that should do the bit. Also, make sure you do have a watch because it somehow shows that you do take care of time, that you are professional enough, and you're going to be punctual at this. Everything starts on time, everything goes on time, mostly. Now, however, if you're in your PJs and sweats, if you wear a formal watch, that's not really going to go. People know, people notice. You might not notice at times because you're busy working. However, people do note all of these things. These are just basic things that you have to take care of for any virtual meeting. And I think this is reasonable enough for all of us to abide by. It gives a look of professionalism and it makes sure that the other person is not distracted enough so that you can focus on the topic. Minimal jewelry, minimal makeup. Do not go too overboard because everything as it is very focused on your face. Now, the most important thing, they say when you communicate, your body language and your visual appearance communicates even more than your words. We've looked at one aspect of the dressing part. We're looking at another aspect, which is the body language part, which takes up the maximum impact. Let's understand. First of all, your posture. Now, while you are in the middle of the meeting and somebody is actually slouching, somebody is actually resting their hand and their face on the hand, somebody is just lazily sitting on their bed, somebody is sitting very weirdly. Don't you think it is very distracting? Also, it shows that the other person is not interested. Other person is maybe bored. All of these things are communicated by your posture as well. So make sure, if you see, I understand that you cannot really sit erect and sit straight all the time. However, it's a good chance that you can refresh, you can take a break, you can walk, you can stretch and come back and still try to sit straight. Now, this makes you more alert. Also, it communicates that you are interested in what's happening, right? Second, and the most important thing, like I said, the camera zooms in onto your face. People can see every expression, they can note everything, and people do understand. While they're in front, they're looking at you as a whole, like I said. However, right now, all they are looking at are your expressions, are your face. So, two things. One, be aware of what kind of expressions are you giving away. If somebody says something wrong and you instantly say, oh, what was that? People are going to see that. If something confuses you and you're kind of doing this, people are going to see that. So it might as well be communicated properly. If you do not understand something and you want to say that, because your expressions again might be distracting to some people, right? So be aware of what expressions are you using, and be purposeful in what expressions do you want to give. We're also going to talk about some important things that are necessary you express for the other person to know that you're listening. So maybe you could nod, maybe you could make your eyes go big when they say something interesting. To convey all of this, use all of this. Now we are not in front, we are not face to face with someone, so maintaining an eye contact becomes difficult. And here is the point where I want to tell you, in order to show that you are still maintaining eye contact, you need to look into the camera. You can see the difference. Now, if I look at the screen, look at my eyes, where are they? If I look at the participant list, look at my eyes, where are they? However, if I look at the camera, it looks like I'm actually talking to you. That's the difference I'm talking about. Initially, you might not be very comfortable doing this. However, if you remember that you have to look into the camera so that the other person thinks you're really talking to him and get interested, then it's essential that you look at the camera to convey this. Your gestures are going to be limited in this frame. Everything that you do with your hands, everything that you're trying to explain has to somehow fit into this. Make sure that your gestures are not very distracting, but also they are not at all there. So avoid both of these things. Use your expressions, use your gestures in a wise way, in a limited way, but to convey effectively. Like I'm saying, I've said it a couple of times, avoid distracting actions. For example, playing with your pen, playing with your hair, maybe just scratching or slouching. And now that you never know who's actually, who has expanded your thumbnail, and you're just yawning and somebody's there looking at you. Which is why I think most of the times people prefer to put their cameras off. But trust me, there's a very, very critical reason why you need to have your cameras off in order to maintain, to establish that connect in the first place. Now, let's talk about an obvious thing, which is communication. There are lots of times when you are in a meeting, but people don't even realize you're there because you don't speak up at all. You do not contribute, you do not say anything, you do not present your opinion, and it's important that you do. However, what is important here is how do you vary your tone. There are times when something's interesting, there are times when something's very serious, and your tone needs to vary accordingly. Now, if you are telling someone something very critical, your voice becomes a little heavier, little basal. On the other hand, if you are saying something very exciting and very interesting, the volume goes up, the tone is different. It sounds interesting. If you're going to talk at a monotone, if it is going to be at a very mid-level which doesn't go up or high, it could get eventually boring, and even if the person wants to focus on what you're saying, probably won't be able to. These pauses in between are also important, so that the other person absorbs something, so that the other person understands the impact of it. Every time you say something, realize what's the stress on. So if I say, I will take you for dinner tonight, that means I'm going to take you and nobody else. However, if I'm emphasizing on, I will take you for dinner tonight, that means we're not going for lunch or breakfast or just chai nashta, but we're actually going for dinner. Your sentence is the same, but the way you stress on a word changes the intention and the meaning of it. Okay, so your pitch needs to vary. To make it interesting, you need to intonate, you need to modulate your tone. That is important. Your volume will vary, but in a way that people can still hear it. Your pace is important. If you go very slow, people are really going to be put to sleep. If you go very fast, people might not understand. At this point, I want to ask you all, if the pace is too fast, please let me know so that I can slow it down, or if it is going well for you. So please use your chat box and let me know how's the pace. Do I need to slow down or is it fine? The pace is fine. Okay, Sapna, thank you. Anybody else? It's fine, Tushar. Thank you. All right. Chintan, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Peterson. And now we'll come to one of the most important things. Listen, guys, listen. Most of the times you are busy doing something else. You are not listening to what's been said. This happens both in virtual meetings and the real world, that you tend to constantly think of what you are going to say when it's your turn. कि जब मेरा चांस आएगा तो मुझे क्या बोलना है, rather than really listening to this person who's speaking at the moment. Sometimes you're stuck at what was said in the past, sometimes you're thinking about what's going to happen. However, are you listening in this present moment? Are you showing interest? Do you have interest in what this other person is saying? And are you speaking in such a way that could interest the other person? Every time you speak, because you know there's a time limitation, even in the virtual meetings, it's important that you use precise words, correct words, because there needs to be clarity in what you say. This clarity will bring about the best possible understanding in people. Now, when you do understand something, make sure at least you nod. Make sure you give some verbal encouragers like, okay, yeah, right, I understand. That's right. So, whatever you can say, whatever you can do in order to tell the speaker that yes, you're listening, it's important to communicate that, because most of the people will generally not say anything at all during the meeting, and then the speaker has to ask again and again, okay, do you understand? Okay, do you understand this, or do you want me to explain? And all of this will happen. Now you need to take charge of your own communication. Respond appropriately to people. When they are asking, be prompt with responses, just like you all did now. Thank you so much. If you do not understand anything, please don't let this meeting go. Either send a direct message or just ask a question if you have time. Also, if you all have questions, we're going to take some questions at the end as well. But ask. It's important to ask because you don't know, maybe the communication of what was said and what you understood, there's a gap in that, and maybe you didn't understand that properly. So if you ask, you're going to get that correction, you're going to get that clarification, and you're going to sort it out. Whatever you understood, somebody, at least one person in the meeting, do try to paraphrase it or summarize it so that everything is very clear, everything is to the point, everybody understands, everybody is on the same page. Empathize with the other person, as it is building a connection here online is a little difficult. So when you empathize with somebody else, it is just fair to show this other person that you do understand and you do feel whatever is happening. We've all been through very rough patches in last 1.5 years, and the least you can do is actually show that you feel for this person. This understanding needs to be built, although not in very formal meetings, however, but leave some space for the small talk in beginning or at the end, or maybe whenever you use breakout rooms, maybe you could show this feeling, understanding, and empathy, right? Because it's important. Ultimately, what we want is the connection being built. Coming back to 10 things that we started with. Be prepared. Dress well, look presentable. By now, we have clearly understood how important it is to dress up, because before I even talk to you, so Parvati, Tushar, before I even talk to you, or before you even talk to me, the first thing that you look at is obviously the way I look. Before communication happens, people notice your body language, expressions, gestures. Before people notice your gestures, expressions, people already notice the way you look. And that's how they determine how professional is this person, how is this person in nature, in personality, in their work style, everything. This is why it's important. Now, whenever you start with a meeting, even though it might seem absolutely simple, know that this is going to set the tone of your meeting, of how cordial is it going to be between all of you guys. Smile and greet. It is the best form of expression. Right away, starting with something that is important, definitely in critical situations when you have no time, you might have to do that. However, usually start with a smile, start greeting each other. It is just a cordial exchange between you guys. If someone else is speaking, please be on mute. At times you don't realize you're on mute or not, but make sure of that. Now turn the camera on. When I have turned my camera on, I expect the other person to turn their cameras on as well. Now you might say that, we're at home, sometimes we're listening to you and we're cooking, sometimes we're listening to you but we're in our bed, sometimes there's lots of mess around and I'm working and I don't want to show you how do I look, or I don't want to turn my camera on. These situations happen with all of us and they're pretty understandable. But what's important is these kind of meetings are needed once in a while to maintain that connect with people, because I don't feel connected right now if I cannot see anyone at all. When we started the meeting, I could see Peterson and I could talk to him, and I know there's somebody. That human touch is important. You having someone to see is important. And I would be happy to see all of you, even for just 1 minute at the end of this meeting. It would make me happy, definitely. Oh, thank you. Thank you. A few people who've switched their cameras on. Thank you so much. Thank you. And for me to feel that human connection, I would love to see you, because otherwise it looks like, who am I talking to? I just have to talk and just go. And that's the best part of having people listen to you, of having people look at you. And turning the camera on also shows of how confident you are and how professional you are whenever the situation demands. Okay? It would be weird if you're talking to your mom and you can see your mom, but your mom can't see you. So imagine the responses, or your dad or your sister or your friends would say. And next time you have a meeting and it's been almost a month that you haven't looked at each other, you'll feel the need to do that. And right now I needed to thank you, all of you. Thank you. Now I've already talked about this. Look into the camera to show this eye contact. It's absolutely important and it gives a very stark impression. Do not multitask. As much as the whole world would emphasize on the fact that it's great to multitask and you can do several things at the same time, humans are not designed that way. You could work in round robin, yes. That's only going to distract you. That's only going to waste your working memory. That's only going to stress you more. It is not going to work. Trust me, read all the surveys, read the recent articles on multitasking. Doesn't work. Do not multitask. You have this meeting going on, but you're like, I have to send this important email यार, साइड में ये कर लेते. अच्छा, मुझे ये काम करना है, साइड में वो कर लेते. Maybe you're just cutting some veggies. Maybe you're just sending an email. Maybe you're just looking at that report. Maybe you're just looking at the chat. Why do this? Have you noticed that these days we don't give our attention to anything completely? And that, don't you think, will hamper our productivity in all ways? That could see, look, this is a session for just 1 hour and it will be great if you could take the most of this. You're here, 64 people in this meeting right now. I would be the happiest person if you have the maximum takeaway from this. It's amazing when you focus on one thing, because you do that thing completely, you're mindful about it, and you're giving your maximum productivity. The Harvard research says that if you are multitasking, it reduces 40% of your productivity. Reduces. I'm clearly saying that. Your working memory is affected. Stress level is affected because you cannot quickly go to one thing, come back, go to another thing, come back, go to one thing, come back. That's the problem. It's important to give full attention to the speaker in virtual meetings. Now, some of you would say, okay, Mukta, come on, we have 10 meetings a day, we have so many calls, we have so much work to do. तो मतलब अगर चालू करते रहेंगे कैमरा, full attention देते रहेंगे एक जगह, तो काम कब होगा हमारा? That's a valid point. I'm not disagreeing to that. If it is a general status meeting where 10 people have to give your status and you have to be only one giving your status, maybe you could do something other than that. However, if it is a meeting where you have to provide inputs, where you have to learn something, doesn't make sense that you multitask at that time. It's a form of respect given to the speaker in that way. An obvious instruction, but avoid eating or walking away unless you're just in an informal meeting, because you might not know that the other, maybe you're wearing just pajamas and somebody called you and you just walked, and maybe you were wearing a formal top on top. So that's important. Now, I cannot emphasize enough, ladies and gentlemen, all the beloved HRs and would-be HRs, this is the most important thing I'm telling you. Take breaks to recharge. This term is popping around everywhere in all the research and articles. Zoom meeting fatigue. आप में से कई लोगों ने ये पढ़ा होगा, सुना होगा. नहीं अगर सुना पढ़ा है तो फील जरूर किया होगा. I'm very sure. In one place, but it tires you out. It drains you to just be constantly on meetings and constantly work and also take care of something at home and also buy important things, also keep answering to people. It drains you out like you really don't realize at this moment. It's important that you take frequent breaks. Please do not have your meetings for hours and hours together. If you do, please bring it to mutually agreeable discussion that all of you after every half an hour or 45 minutes are going to take a break of 5 minutes. If you're focusing on something or constantly on Zoom for 1.5 hours, make sure you take a break of minimum half an hour after that. Because that's how you're going to recharge. Because if you continue after that, you're not going to be as creative, you're not going to be focused, you're not going to be attentive, you're not going to be productive. तो अगर वो सब वापस लाना है आपकी सोच में, आपके कैपेबिलिटी में, आपके काम के एफिशिएंसी में, आपके प्रोडक्टिविटी में, तो वो ब्रेक लो. That break actually fills you up, fills your battery up. That's important for you to think clearly. कई बार ऐसा होता है मीटिंग कर करके, काम कर करके, at the end of the day is like मुझे समझ में नहीं आ रहा, हम लोग कल बात करते हैं. Why कल बात करते हैं? Because you are in need, a desperate need of break. And without fail, at the end, thank this other person or thank everyone who are in this meeting and have been listening to you or contributing or speaking themselves. These are 10 things that you have to absolutely do, no matter which meeting is it, what kind of meeting is it. Now, is there only virtual meetings that we're going to talk about if we are talking about virtual impressions? That's an important question to ask. No. We all are on different platforms. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. What are we posting? Have you taken care of that? Sometimes you post such things that are giving a peek into your personal life. Sometimes you want it, sometimes you don't want it. Sometimes you're posting parties, sometimes you're posting negative or demeaning comments, sometimes you're giving political or religious views, sometimes it's inappropriate content. My simple question to you is, every time you post, whether it's a post or a story, if after a few days or a few months you're going to regret it, don't post it. Because everything you put out there stays on the internet for years and years, and you never know who's going to access it. Does that mean that you absolutely stop posting everything from your personal life? How are you going to stay connected to people? You can definitely post all of the things from your personal life, but in an appropriate way. And I don't need to explain too much on this. We're all adults here. We all understand the basis of what's appropriate, what's not. all the recruitment officers, most of the HRs right now, as you are present these days, you have noticed this trend of going and checking out people's social media profiles to know more about this person. You might check LinkedIn, you might check maybe Instagram or Facebook or any other social media profile as well, but you do. Now imagine your office colleagues, your boss, your other professional colleagues, your anybody you've associated with it. If you're a part of any community, if you're an entrepreneur, if you have a website, if you've collabed with other people, anybody who, even the dating sites, all those people. All of these people have access to everything that you're putting out there for the world to see. Are you okay with them looking at all of this? Go ahead and post. If you think that this particular thing might not give out a good impression, or this particular thing might not be a wise decision, or maybe this is not appropriate, अगर आपको doubt आता है ना कभी, don't post it. This is an easy way to understand what to post, what not to post. Imagine somebody who wants to recruit you, looks at an inappropriate post of you somewhere and thinks that I don't think this person is suitable, or this person is follows the values of our organization. I don't think this is the right fit, and they might just not take you. Does this happen? Yes, it does happen. What kind of impressions will people find? Just ask yourself, is it favorable for you, helping you in any way, beneficial to you? Go ahead, put it out. Now, finally, whenever you're talking about virtual impressions, whether it's a meeting, whether it's a video conference, whether it's a video call, or whether it's just posting anything on internet, basic questions to ask you. What are you communicating yourself as? How do people perceive you? A simple question to you. It's okay if you don't answer this, but I want you to think of 3 things that you want people to perceive you as. People want to think of you as knowledgeable, well spoken, well dressed, helpful, attentive, responsible, refined, stylish, accommodating, team player, whatever it is. Think of 3 things जो आप चाहते हो कि लोग आप में notice करें and people should perceive you as that. My next question. Are you sure this is what you're communicating? Are you sure this is the impression you're making? Everything that constitutes of your impression, यानी कि your communication, the way you dress up, the way you behave with people, the way your body language is, the way you follow certain etiquette, the way you interact with people, the way you present yourself, your impression. Are these aligned with your goals? कि life में what do you want to achieve? What do you want to do? Your interests. Somebody who's probably talking about art and creativity, I wouldn't assume, I wouldn't even think of that this person would be interested in football or mountaineering. It's just a normal assumption. Is it in line with your interests? So talk accordingly. Is it aligned with your personality? Does it communicate how your personality is? Whatever you talk, however you behave, does it enhance it? Does it communicate the right thing? Your competencies, your capabilities, your strengths, does it align with that as well? Your circumstances, the situation, the occasion, the place, and finally your professional and social circle. Whenever you're thinking about an impression, so today I want you to do a very simple thing. You might take a pen and paper, you might just write it in your phone, or you might only think, because if you're too busy and you just have 5 minutes to do this, I want you to think and figure out what kind of an impression are you giving currently? What kind of an impression would you want to give? What is the gap? How much is the gap? What would you like to change to make this new impression on people, especially the first timers? All the things that we discussed right now, They are important for you to assimilate, understand, implement right away. Abhi agar next meeting hai, iske baad se you can implement all of that right away. This is important for your virtual meetings, for your physical meetings, for your calls, for you to give out an impression, even just as a picture, just in a website or anywhere, absolutely. This is all the basis for that. And some important factors that you need to take care of specifically in the virtual meetings. I hope you have understood this till now. In short, I would like to summarize this and tell you that be aspect. What do I mean by that? Be aware of how you are giving out your impression, what's happening, what are you wearing, what's in the surrounding, who is the person, what's the demand, what's the requirement of this situation at this moment. Be supportive of other people as well. That if somebody misses out on a few things, somebody needs to understand something, needs more clarity on something, needs some support with the technical aspects, please support them. Please, not everybody is comfortable with this huge change. हाँ 1.5 साल हो गया है, but still not everybody is perfectly accommodated to it. Be positive in your feedback, in your communication, in how you deal with a conflict, in how you instruct people, in how you take information from people. Try to be positive. If not positive, try to be neutral, be affirmative, be assertive. Be authentic. There's nothing more important than being authentic. तो आप बोलोगे, all this while you said you should do this, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. Now you're saying just be real, just be authentic, be genuine. Isn't that contradictory? No, it's not. Everybody has their own style to do it, but be yourself. You don't have to pretend to be someone else. You don't have to put on a mask. This one mask is enough for all of us. We don't need another face mask to put on. Be real, be genuine, what you really feel, but try to put it in a way that is positive and understanding for this other person. It doesn't offend anyone. Be confident. That is contagious. People, whether they are just looking at you in the video virtual meeting or they are in front of you or people are on the call, people just grasp this like this. Your confidence shows. अगर आप किसी को phone करोगे and you're going to say, "Hi, Peterson, how are you? It's so good to hear from you. It's been so long." He'll sense it. On the other hand, if I pick up the call and I say, "Oh, hi, Peterson, it has been so long. Yeah, so good to hear your voice. Very nice, very nice." Don't you think he'll sense it even on the call? That's important. When you feel something, it shows. And finally, be thoughtful. Be thoughtful for everyone around you. Be thoughtful in how can you be the best version of yourself, not just in your personal circle, but more importantly, your professional and social circles as well. I hope you've learned a lot of things today. I know that these are things that you will be able to accommodate even in the basics of your meetings and interactions with people. I hope you do it right away and you present yourself and your work better. Hope you maintain good relationships. How to create great impressions now that you know it. I hope you use it to create an amazing impact, a strong impact. And finally, I hope that you are able to win and achieve the most of your goals, in fact, all of your goals. Thank you so much. I hope this was very useful for you and you try to implement it right away and every day after this. Thank you. And now is the time for you to ask some questions if you have.
So before we take the question and answers, we'll be running a poll to capture the feedback of our participants.
Awesome.
So I would request all our participants to kindly share your feedback. While you all are doing so, would request you all to kindly share your questions pertaining to our today's session in the chat box.
Can I vote for myself?
Sorry?
Can I vote for myself?
No, you will not be able to vote.
I know. Yeah. Just kidding.
Yeah. So once again, I thank all our participants for joining our session today. We have received a lot of inquiry about the e-certificate offered by HRAI. You can claim your certificate by sharing your details. When I say details, your name and the session attended in an email to the ID provided in the chat window. Please ensure you do this by the 30th of June 2021. We will email the e-certificate to you based on details received. So, well, Mukta, we have received a couple of questions. Do you want me to have them read out to you?
Yes, please. I'd love to.
We have one question from Neha. She says, being a host, how do we run the meeting in a most effective manner? What are things we should ensure to yield maximum attentiveness from the participants?
Good question. So here I want you to firstly greet everyone. Firstly, make sure everybody knows each other well. There's proper introduction. There's a little laugh, a little smile in the beginning. Give it 2-3 minutes, good 2-3 minutes. This will stop other screen sharing. Should I stop it?
Sorry?
There's a pop-up. It says this will stop other screen sharing.
Yes, you can.
Yeah,
Oh, this is for you. Okay, sorry. Okay, so yeah, that's what you can give the initial 3-4 minutes of your meeting to, and then get on to the actual topic of discussion. Now, it will be important for you to maybe use a little humor in between, maybe use a little polling in between, maybe use a short activity, maybe a refresher in between. It could be as short as just 5 minutes, but make sure you have it because that'll make people come back to wherever you need them to be. So when you're conducting a meeting, like I gave you all the basic instructions, make sure it reaches everyone, everybody joins on time, make sure that you don't waste anybody's time because everybody has a lot of things lined up and now they also have to take care of their home. So be ready with tiny icebreakers and refreshers at hand anytime. कम से कम 5 का list बना के रखना दिन में जब चाहिए, whenever you want, use it. That will ensure that people don't burn out from the meeting. Now, how to ensure their attention is firstly, make sure there's enough modulation and intonation in your voice, in the way you speak. So, when that variation happens, जब आपकी आवाज कभी ऊपर कभी नीचे कभी ऐसे कभी वैसे जाती है, so वो लोगों का attention hold करके रखता है. Okay? In between, use some practical examples. Make sure you get some engagement from people. Ask them certain questions. So, जैसे जैसे आदमी का interest निकल रहा है, ask them a question, let them come back. So these are some tiny things that you can do in your session. If you are conducting a meeting, you are being the host, make sure you are being a gracious host. And in the end, do thank everyone for their contribution. Do not miss people out. Involve everybody. I understand it's going to be very difficult for 100 people or 50 people to contribute, but make sure that they contribute at least through the chat or some basic polling where it's easy to interact. Engagement is important. That's how you're going to hold attention.
Thank you. Beautifully answered. We have our next question. How should we create a really good professional media profile on various platforms? What are things we should consider to make a great impression from the profile?
Perfect. Very nice and very useful question, I'd say. Okay, firstly, the most professional photo is going to go for LinkedIn. If you have a good camera, please use it. This is the time to actually make use of that. Make sure you're wearing something very formal. However, it does not have to go out of your personality. If you are a person who doesn't carry it well, trust me, वो दिख जाता है photos से. मुझे दिख जाता है कि this is not the person who usually carries a blazer, who's usually comfortable in a blazer. So in that case, wear something, maybe a jacket, maybe a cardigan, maybe something that gives you a little bit authority. Make sure there is, for females, make sure there is just minimal makeup on your face. And all of this is strictly for your LinkedIn. The background in the picture should be preferably solid, preferably plain, no distracting elements anywhere in the background. What you're wearing, like I said, it has to be contrasting, or at least that's clearly visible. And don't have your photos like this, don't have your photos like this. All of this is not for LinkedIn at all. Your focus should be on the face and this area. One biggest tip that I can give you to bring the attention to your face when you're speaking or in a profile picture is to have one focus element, one dominating element. All of you there, all the people, listen to this carefully. What I mean by that is, if there is nothing that holds the attention of the looker, of the viewer, people are going to swipe your picture ahead. Swipe as in they are going to go to the next profile, or they are not going to pay enough attention. They're going to let it go. Now, what happens is, right now, when you're looking at me, there's a live example. There is one thing jahan aapka attention bar bar jata hai. You know what? It's this. Most of you agree? When I speak, this is one thing that आपका attention घूम फिर के आता है वापस. What I want you to do is, this is exactly why many men wear a tie, because it is closer to your face और घूम फिर के आपका attention वहां पे settle होगा. This is why some models and stylists and fashionistas will have a bright lipstick so that the attention comes back there. This is why some people would have a lot of makeup on their eyes so that your attention goes there. However, do not have 2, 3, or 4 attention points or focus points, because then it becomes distracting. Imagine मैंने bright lipstick लगाई होती, एक necklace पहना होता, bright color का top पहना होता, आंखों पे भी makeup किया होता, plus these earrings. Now tell me, how distracted would you feel? Where do I look? I can't focus on what she's talking. मेरा ध्यान यहाँ जा रहा है, यहाँ जा रहा है, यहाँ जा रहा है, सब जगह जा रहा है. Right? So have one attention point closer to your face so that people focus on what you're saying. That goes for your pictures as well. Now, when you're putting a profile picture out there, anything could be one highlight. Also, the clothes that you wear, prefer them to be in harmony with your background. Whether it's a garden, whether it's a park, whether it's a office setting, whether it's just a home, whether it's you just on your sofa, it should be a comfortable picture. Give a slight smile, because then that impact enhances, because the person is smiles are very attractive. Trust this fact without thinking twice. Smiles are very attractive. So have a subtle smile, have a comfortable posture, look natural. Candid ke chakkar mein awkward poses mat do. Make sure your profile picture more or less covers this much at least. For some other purposes, you might have pictures that showcase you full, but otherwise usually it's head to waist, and the same logic that I told you, leave some space here and there so that the attention is properly on you. The size of the picture is also important. Let it not be too zoomed in, let it not be too long, and in a way that, you know, that LinkedIn has that circle. Make sure that nothing gets cropped out on any platform. Whether Instagram, of course, you can be casual, but again, don't be inappropriate. I'm saying the same thing again. Facebook is, I think, a very conversational platform, so have a profile picture accordingly. But LinkedIn, make sure that the picture is professional. Hope this answers.
Amazing session. Thank you, Ms. Mukta, for an insightful and enlightening session. Key takeaways are the impactful 10 things to be kept in mind to have an impressive impression. B aspect. Beautiful. It has been a pleasure being with you today. I'm sure our participants have had a lot to learn and take away from this session. Before we conclude with our today's session, we would also want to thank the association members, Geisha, NASCOM COE, LinkedIn Local, Talgro, TLE, WICCI, GlipTalk, for supporting these HRAI events. To know more about these associations, request you to kindly visit the link provided in the chat window. Thank you once again, dear speaker, and our participants for joining us today. Do join us for our next masterclass on the topic, how to start a startup without quitting your job. A session by Mr. Avelo Roy, MD, Kolkata Ventures, on the 23rd of June, 2021. Request you to kindly register for this event on the link mentioned in the chat window. Also, to join the Dialogue 2020 WhatsApp chat group through the invite link shared in the chat window. That's it from us today. See you soon. Stay safe. Take care. Bye for now. Keep learning.
Peterson, thank you so much again. At this point, I would like to say HR Association of India, this was incredible. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you, Peterson, for coordinating with me. It was wonderful. And thank you, each one of you, to attend this session. I hope you take the most of it and make the most of it. Hope to see you all. Stay safe, stay happy. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sapna.
And thank you, everyone, for the wonderful feedback. I'm loving it. Peterson, please share
Yes,
that with me.
absolutely. I will definitely share that with you.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank
Have a
you.
great evening.
Thanks, Mira, Chintan. Thank you, Kritika. Thank you, Shyam. We hereby conclude with our today's session.